In the last lesson, we took a look at some brushes, but we focused only on one type of brush, and it was draw. If I press T in the right viewport, you can see that we have a few more to talk about. For the first one, soften, I actually need to draw something first. I will select the constant falloff so we can see the results better. And that's probably why Draw Tool is so important. Others are just not working without it. Well, maybe except for the Fill tool, but we'll get to it in a minute. I painted some blobs of color and now let's use the Soften brush. We can see that it blends the colors nicely and we can also smooth out the hard edges of the brush stroke. Works exactly as its name says. Next, we have a Smear tool. Let's paint another blob of color and use the Smear tool. It stretches the color under our brush and we can make these funny swirls. If we decrease the strength of the brush, it pulls out the colors less and it looks like the Soften brush more now. Next up, we have a Clone tool and it's self-explanatory. We can copy the color from one area to another. To set the source, we need to press Ctrl and click on the area we want to copy the color from. It uses the current view and depends on the angle we're looking at the color to copy. The placement of the cursor is a place where it will be sampled first. If we rotate the view to match, we will see the distortion of the texture. This tool is useful for copying patterns or correcting parts of the texture that need a little touch-up. Next one is Fill, and unfortunately it doesn't behave like in the typical program like Photoshop, and by default we can fill everything with color. So it's good for the start of the painting process when we want to add a base color for painting details later. We can tell this tool to paint on selected faces only by going to the Face Selection tool located next to the Texture Paint drop-down at the left top of the viewport, and then from Tools, choose Select Box or any other option. I subdivided the cube before, so we can select a few faces and then go back to the Fill tool. And we can see that only the selected area was influenced. We can turn off the face selection for now. We can also make a stencil, so let's select the Draw brush again and choose Masking option next to the Texture slot at the top of the viewport. Let's click on Stencil Mask and add a new default image. We will invert the stencil layer to be able to mask everything except the area we're painting. And now we just need to select a mask tool. Let's draw something pressing Ctrl. We are currently removing the mask, so we see our original cube there. And then we can go back to the Fill tool and click on the cube, and we see that now just the area from the stencil was filled. You can also not invert it and mask out the areas where you don't want to paint, so the opposite of what we've just done. After using the stencil, we can save it for later or just delete it if we don't need it anymore. There are also other options that change the way we can paint the faces. Let's go to the Options tab in the Draw tool and turn off the Occlude and Backface culling. I will also select the blue color to see what is happening. We can see that when I'm painting on one face, it projects what I've just painted to the other side. I can't really find a use for it, so we'll turn it on again. With Occlude, only exposed areas are affected. With Backface culling, we can paint on the faces oriented towards us, and when we'll go inside a cube with this option turned off, we can paint inside. But when we turn it on, we no longer can paint on the back faces. The useful option is Bleed. It extends the paint beyond UV island bounds to avoid visual artifacts and is useful for baking. We need at least 8 pixels of bleeding, so let's type it. Now we can fill the area with the chosen color, and you can see that it exceeds the bounds of our UV with 8 pixels everywhere. Now let's paint with different color and select an extreme angle, and we can see that we are painting only at the face that is pointing at us, and the near face is just smeared with color or is completely ignored. That actually protects us from painting at extreme angles to avoid weird paint strokes on the faces we can't see. To change these settings, we need to go to the Fall-Off settings and Normal Fall-Off tab. Here's the angle that our stroke is ignored, so let's bring it up all the way to 90, and we can see that when I don't really see the top of the object, but I will paint on the edge, my stroke is smeared at the whole top face. If the value is set to too low, we won't be able to paint even when we should. Let's set it to 40 and we see that I can't paint and I should be able, so in general, we don't want this to happen, so let's bring this value to default. The last very useful option is symmetry. It is pretty self-explanatory because you can just mirror the paint strokes you're painting. So let's select it. It's under Brush Settings and choose X. Depending on the orientation you're painting, the mirrored stroke will show up. You can use this little gizmo in the right top of the viewport to predict where it's going to appear. You can also select multiple axes and go crazy with funny designs. Mirror is very useful if you want to paint an object that you applied a mirror modifier to and forgot to align the UV islands to overlap. I will turn off the symmetry now. While talking about symmetry, we have the option to paint a seamless texture, so let's go to the image editor on the left and press N to see the sidebar, and at the very bottom of the tool tab we see the tiling option. Let's click X and Y, and now we see that the stroke comes out to the other side, which means that it is now repeating. If we go to the View tab, we can select a Repeat Image option, and we can see an amazing seamless pattern we've made. I'm not entirely proud, but I guess it's called art. Okay, that concludes the most important and useful tools for painting, and now we can take a quick look at painting with layers.